Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Selfish Podcast with Kina. I'm Kina, and I am really nervous, but still really excited to be back. Today, I am talking about starting over and having the courage to start over. And this is in alignment with this podcast. Now, I started this podcast literally in the beginning of 2024. I did like three or so episodes and I stopped for multiple reasons. I stopped because life happened and I wasn't prepared for everything that happened in 2024 and prepared to deal with that along with producing content on social media. And that gave me an excuse for one of the real reasons why I think I stopped, which is fear. Like imposter syndrome and fear just took over me in a way. And so I just stopped. But I will say that 2024 has been the hardest year of my entire life. And I've been through something, like, I went through some things in life, but 2024 has been the hardest year of my life. Like, if I were to sit down and give like a phrase or a sentence for 2024, I would say, what the was that? Because that was crazy. But as hard as it was for me, I have chosen to see the lessons that I needed to see and to learn and to focus on that and to take that into 2025 with me. And so today, I really want to talk about the correlation between starting over and feeling shame and guilt for being where you are in relation to where you thought you were going to be. I want to start with talking about 2024 and for some, not for all, but the weight of 2024 for some people because, and I'm going to use myself and as an example, this year I have been through so much. I've lost so much. I've had a really close death in my life, like someone who is, I think, one of the closest a person could ever be died in my life this year. And when this happened, I was so alone. I had nobody around me. It was just me, and I had to navigate and figure out how do I deal with this grief. I had not dealt with grief on this level since like my grandmother had died, and I had to figure out how do I deal with this grief while still showing up in all of the roles that I had to show up in. And I've lost friends. I don't want to say the word lost as it relates to friendships. I want to say some of my friendships kind of dissolved. Like they had run its course, and so a lot of relationships in my life had come to an end or to a close. Because I do believe that people are in your life for a reason and a season, and sometimes that season is over and the season can restart again, or sometimes it's just one season and when the season is done, it's done. But for me, I've experienced like closing of relationships and having to deal with all these things all at once by myself this year. And these things were so unexpected. I'm telling you, at the end of 2023, I had my vision board. I had so many plans and so many things that I wanted to achieve. And I can tell you, more than half of them I did not achieve. And when I look back, there was a part of me who felt so much shame and guilt because a lot of the things that I wrote down, a lot of the things that were on my vision board, I did not achieve in 2024. And I want us to know that this shame and this guilt is so common, it's normal, but I also want it to be common and normal for us to release it. I also would like to invite people to understand that you are not alone and there's no set time for anything in your life. Oh my God, I get it so emotional. There's no set time for anything in your life. You can show up in any space, in any environment, in any capacity, doing anything that you want to do at any time in your life when you are ready, when you're emotionally ready, when you're physically ready. When it is time, it will be, I don't want to use the word easy, but when you are in alignment with the thing that you're trying to show up in, it will most definitely happen. And I know we beat up ourselves for not being where we think we should be at a specific age, but I think about the woman who wrote the Harry Potter books. Now, I'm gonna like kind of summarize the story, but just know that this woman wrote these children books years, I mean so many years before Harry Potter actually pop off, before Harry Potter actually became a thing. And I think about KFC. I could be wrong with the specific age, but the person who started KFC, Colonel or whatever, if I could remember the story correctly, he was like an entrepreneur and he did so many different things for years until he was like 80 years old, and that's when KFC actually popped off. And look at what KFC is today, right? And I say that to say, when you're in alignment is when things will happen. And sometimes we can control the distractions that happen and still persevere and still push through to get and reach whatever goal we want. That is something that is necessary. But then there are times where we are intentionally derailed from approaching the goal at a specific time because we are not as prepared as we think we are. There's still a lesson or something that we're missing that we need to learn. And I know for certain, for me, in 2024, now that I'm sitting here, if I look back, I can say for certain that there are certain lessons that I learned this year that I am positive that when I do attempt my goals again, when I do start this podcast like I am now, again, I have learned certain things that have better equipped me to show up fully in my endeavors, show up fully trying to achieve my goals, show up fully being the person that I truly want to be. And so that's how I choose to look at it and not allow myself to sit in shame and guilt, because sitting in shame and guilt literally will change nothing. Nothing is going to change. All you're doing is beating up yourself. I know that it can be easy for me to sit here and say, "Oh, just release shame and guilt," but how do I do that? And I feel like one of the things that really worked for me in releasing shame and guilt is to continuously affirm to myself that I am where I am supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there. I affirm that to myself. I approach myself with compassion. I say things to myself like, I know where you want to be. And I know that it is possible for you to be there. And I also know that where you are right now is also okay and it's also valid. And one step at a time matters. These things that I say to myself. Another thing that I do that I've started doing, I can't remember the word for it, but there's a phrase for it. I can't remember. I started doing it recently, but basically I tap certain parts of my body while I say certain things, and I do this when I start to ruminate in certain emotions that are negative. For example, when I'm sitting complaining about where I am and how 2024 didn't go, when I'm sitting and I'm beating up myself for that, I become aware of me doing that, and I start to do like this. It goes something like this: I didn't achieve that this year, but that's perfectly fine because I know I still have the opportunity to do it. I didn't achieve that this year, and that's perfectly fine because I know I still have the opportunity to do it. I didn't achieve that this year, and that's perfectly fine because I know I still have the opportunity to do it. I didn't achieve that this year, and that's perfectly fine because I know I still have the opportunity to do it. I didn't achieve that this year, and that's perfectly fine because I know I still have the opportunity to do it. I didn't achieve that this year, and that's perfectly fine because I know I still have the opportunity to do it. I didn't achieve that this year, and that's perfectly fine because I know I still have the opportunity to do it. I didn't achieve that this year, and that's perfectly fine because I know I still have the opportunity to do it. I cannot remember what that's called, but it's a form of, I think it's when you tap the meridian points of your body, something like that. But I know that that works for me. Doing that allows me to not lie to myself, tell myself the truth and the full truth. The truth is I didn't achieve those things this year, but the truth also is that I still have the opportunity to do it. And that calms my nervous system, and that helps to affirm to me that it is okay. I still can start over. So I think that, to summarize this whole thing about releasing the shame and the guilt that comes along with not achieving the things you want to achieve by a set time that you had, you have to affirm the truth. You didn't achieve it, but you still have the opportunity to do it. You have to affirm in a way that is compassionate, because nothing happens when you beat up yourself. And you have to continuously do this until you have fully released that heaviness of shame and guilt. I believe that when you have gotten to a point where you've released that shame and that guilt, you can then do the next thing, which is reflect on 2024 without judgment. And this is very important. And that's why I spoke about releasing the shame and the guilt, because if you look at 2024 with judgment, then you will not be able to get from it what you should have gotten from it to take with you into 2025. I believe that one of the most important things we can do in any situation that we deemed to have gone wrong is to reflect and look at two things. What did I learn? And what strengths did I acquire? What did I learn from the things that went wrong? What did I learn about myself? What did I learn about my reaction to certain things? What did I learn about how I see myself, how I see people, how people view me? What did I learn about what I actually need in life? What did I learn about my desires, and whether or not they are truly my own desires, or if they are desires that I put on myself based off of what society said I should want? What did I learn about situations that I really want to step into? What strengths did I acquire? What strengths did I realize that I had all along? Did I realize how resilient I am because I went through all of these things and I am still here? Did I realize how persistent, how I'm able to persevere, how I'm able to navigate situations? Did I learn how to grieve in a way that was best for me? All of these are things that you could ask yourself to really sit down and look at what you learned about situations, about yourself, about people, and what you found were your strengths that you already had, or strengths that you had to build or acquire. Because this is going to help you in 2025. This is how you use everything that happened in 2024 to get past and push through anything that comes your way in 2025, as you approach your goals, as you try to show up as the person that you want to be. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to show up as? I know we had so much goals for 2024, but after that entire year, do you still want to be and show up as and do the same things that you thought you wanted to do at the beginning of 2024? Or do you have different ideas? Do you have different goals? Or did you tweak some of them? I feel like the next step is to really sit and figure out, who do I want to be? What do I want to do? What do I want to become? What did 2024 show me about myself and my desires and my goals? And one thing that I did was to sit down and write this out. I want to say it is important to write out things. I mean, typing out things is awesome too. As long as you are putting it somewhere out of your head, it is very important to write out things so that you have a point to reflect at, something to look at outside of your head. We keep so much things in our head, and I find it is beneficial for us to write things, get it down on paper so that you can see it out in front of you, and then make sure that these are things that you genuinely want. Make sure that these are things that are your own true personal desires and not anything that anybody else has said or mentioned to you to say that this is what you should want or who you should be. And so when you've done letting go of that shame and that guilt, and you've reflected on 2024 and you've looked at everything that has happened, the next thing is to make sure you set out exactly again, because I know you did it in 2024, but it's okay, we're going to do it again. Set out exactly again the edited version or the same version, but I'm pretty sure the version is going to be edited. The edited version, the renewed version of what you want your life to look like, who you want to show up as, who you want to become, what you want to experience, what you want to do 2025 and forward. And then the next step is to start over. There's so much stigma around starting over because for some people, and it's in the eyes of society most of the time, starting over symbolizes failure. You failed at doing this and now you have to start from scratch. But I want to invite you to look at starting over differently, because there's no way that I have failed because I'm starting over, because everything that happened I learned from. And so when I start over, I'm starting over with new perspective, new lessons, new knowledge, a different approach. And I'm able to approach it in such a way that I did not understand before. I did not had before. I am approaching it with understanding that I did not have before. And so when I think about it that way, that helps to release me from the shame of starting over. But starting over is a part of life. Listen, I have a child, and when a child is learning to walk, most children don't just get up and walk and continue walking. Like, children get up and walk, they fall down, they get up and walk again, they fall down, they'll start going back to crawling and creeping because they're not accustomed to the walking thing yet. You know, they tried it and realized, oh, I can walk, but they haven't practiced walking. So they fall, they get up and start over, they fall, they get up and start over. And I feel like a lot of things in life is like that. For example, with this podcast, I stopped literally 3 episodes in. When I tell you, when I've sat in front of this camera so many times before I posted this, and I didn't post anything because I was so ashamed and too scared, because here I am starting over. Also, when you first start something, a lot of people around you don't get it. They don't agree with it. They kind of like shame you for starting, and then they shame you again for having to start over. But I want to tell you, starting over is a part of life. I actually want to say this. The bravest and strongest people are the people who make the decision to start over, are the people who have the courage to say, you know what, this is what I want. I want this. I want this. And so although it didn't come out or turn out the way how I wanted it to the first time I attempted it, I'm going to attempt it again, because this is something I am serious about and something that I really want, regardless of how other people see me, regardless of how other people think or what other people think. And I want you to know and hear me clearly. Most of the time, the people that are judging you for starting over are people who have never accomplished things that they actually wanted to accomplish, are people who sit on their passions and do nothing about it, are people who would talk and talk and talk and talk and talk about what they want to do and never actually do it. And I want to encourage you to literally move away from anybody else's perspective as it relates to the things that are important in your life. For example, you see my child? Let me tell you something. When it comes to my child and parenting my child, I start from in here. I may ask for somebody else's opinion, somebody that I trust. I may ask for somebody else's perspective, somebody that I trust, somebody that I know within myself are going to answer me in a way that is respectful of me. They know me, and they're going to answer or give their opinion in a way that is respectful of me and aligns with my true goal for the way how I want to show up as a parent. But even after they answer, I still go within before I even do anything. Because while I appreciate and respect your opinion, the final decision is mine. And I approach everything in life like that. And I am very, very careful of who I ask opinions. Because there are people that usually are not answering you in a way that is beneficial to you, but in a way that is beneficial to them. Because if they're not doing anything with their life, it is very, very, very much a reality that they don't actually want to see anybody else do anything. They're scared and they want you to be scared as well. They're stuck and they want you to be stuck as well. So be very careful about when asking people's opinion, and about ingesting people's opinion, and about seeking validation when it relates to starting over. Just know that you could do it. And I don't want to just talk about this like it's so easy for me to say just know that you could do it, but the reality is it's not that easy to just do it. It really isn't. You have to sit down and go within yourself. This is what I do. And I really want to be honest and true as I'm talking on this podcast, because a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about, I say as if it's easy, but it is not. And you have to have the courage to go forward and make the decision that you want to change your life. You have to be able to say, you know what, I am scared fucking shitless out of my mind, but I want this. I am hungry for this. This is what I want. This is who I want to be. You have to get to a point where you are so tired of life not being what you want it to be, that you take full accountability and control of where your life is currently. You have to get to a point where you no longer can tolerate living the way that you live. And so you have to be rebellious against fear. There are people who are rebellious against their religion, their parents. You see that same fire that you had? Because most of us that are doing this work are literally the black sheep of our family. Most of us that do this work are people who find it hard to just fall in line with everything that society says either way, and we are just trying to figure out how to navigate showing up fully as who we are on the inside while healing from the things that were put on us. Most of us doing this work, most of us who are looking within ourselves. And so I really want you to know that this shit is not easy, but it is doable. You could do it. I believe you could do it. Because when you get to the point where you are so hungry for life, when you are so hungry to show up as who you are, when you are so hungry to achieve the things that you want to achieve, when you are so hungry to experience life in the way that you truly want to experience it, you are going to look at this and say, I am scared out of my mind, but I'm still doing it. Fear isn't really going to go anywhere in the beginning. You have to do it despite the fear. You have to want it so much that fear means nothing. I am scared, but I am brave, and affirm that to yourself every single day. I am scared, but I am brave, and I can do this. Because also, most of the time, the fear comes from whether or not I'm going to be able to do it. Most of the time, like even with this podcast, like I keep telling myself, well, you tried already. Well, before I was telling myself, well, you tried already and you didn't do it. There are certain things in my life that I has tried and tried, but realistically speaking, I did not fully commit to them. I tried, but I didn't fully try. And so every time I start again, there's a voice in the back of my head saying, you're going to quit. Like, you've quit this before. You're going to quit. Like, why are you even going to attempt to start? You're going to. I want you to tell that voice to shut up. Don't be hard on yourself. But say, you know what? It is true. I quit before. But like I said before, I learned. I have a new perspective. And I am hungry. And I know the alternative to this is me living a life and having life experiences that I do not want and that I am not comfortable with. And I am hungry. I am tired and hungry for change. I am tired of what I have allowed myself to experience, and I am hungry for change. And so I have seen what I have been through. I have seen how many times I have quit. I have seen that things don't always go the way I plan, but I am ready and I am willing to be rebellious against fear, to show up fearfully until I get to a place where I'm not fearful anymore. And I just live in my truth as the person that I truly want to be. And this is the mindset that I want to invite you to take with you when you are starting over, when you are attempting to start over, because it is very important that you do not allow fear or anybody else's opinion or anybody else's lack of validation to stop you, because you could do it. Once you have a desire within you, that means that you already know, like, that means that it is something that you are supposed to want, which means that you have or you are able to acquire the tools and the skills necessary to do it. One of the things that I did, and this was super fun, in preparation to start over with my life and with this podcast, was I wrote a letter to myself. And I really enjoyed doing this because I kind of wrote a letter saying goodbye and thank you to Kina of 2024 and everything that she experienced, and like, just kind of like acknowledging and having compassion and showing gratitude for myself, and how I showed up in 2024, forgiving myself for things that I felt like I needed to forgive myself. Like, I wrote it all in this letter and I burned it. I burned the letter, and as the smoke went up, it kind of like was a releasing ritual for me to release everything that happened in 2024 that was negative, while still showing appreciation and gratitude for the lessons that I did learn. And so this is just like a little actionable step that I want to invite you to maybe try. And you don't necessarily have to burn it. You can throw it in the garbage, but just releasing 2024 in a way that whatever, because everybody has like different releasing rituals or whatever you feel like is best for you to help release the entire year. And when I say release, I don't necessarily mean throw it in the garbage and forget it, although throw it in the garbage and forget it, but I don't necessarily mean throw it in the garbage and forget it. I mean just to help you to not hold on tightly to whatever occurred, whether good or bad, to be honest, whatever occurred in 2024. Because when you hold on too tightly to certain things, it kind of blocks any area or any space for growth. So that is just one of the things that I did to help release 2024 and open up the new space and freshness for 2025. And to close out, the last thing I really want to talk about is self-love is really the foundation for any transformation or any change in your life. You have to love yourself. Oh God. You have to love yourself enough to do all of those things that I talked about. To be brave, to show up, to start over. You have to really, truly believe that you are worthy of going after the things and the experiences and the type of life that you actually want to live. I promise you, you were put here for more. Listen to me clearly. You were put here for more. Life is not just about experiencing negative things, and it's not only about experiencing positive things either, but it is majority about enjoying life. And if you are currently stagnant and you are not enjoying life, you don't like the person that you are, you don't like the way how you show up in life, whether that be emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever, you have to love yourself enough to say, you know what? I am going to be scared, but still do whatever it takes to truly, truly change my life, because I love myself. Starting over and having the courage to start over is one of the biggest acts of self love. I promise you, self maintenance is not self love. Nurturing yourself emotionally is a part of self love. Doing things that bring fulfillment in your life is a part of self love. And actually taking the steps to show up as the person you want to show up as is a part of self love. And so self love really is the foundation of, really taking that leap to start over. And it's not easy, like I said before, but one of the things that you could do is affirm. Listen, there are people who talk about affirmations not working. Let me tell you, I'm an affirmation myself down. Because what we consume, we become. And if you are consuming through your ears everyday negative things about yourself, you become those negative things about yourself. You become those negative versions of yourself. So if I am consuming positivity through my ears about me and about my life, eventually I am going to become those positive things. Eventually I am going to believe those positive things. Eventually I am going to see those positive things as fact, and I'm going to show up in alignment with those positive things. I'm not saying that affirmation is the only thing, but affirmation really does help, because whatever you say after I am is what you are choosing to represent, to say who you are. Whatever you say after I am is literally what you are saying about yourself, what you are identifying yourself to be. And so for me, if I want to change, reprogramming my mind through affirmation is one of the major things that I know have worked in the past and will continue to work. And so speak positive things about yourself. I am this. I feel this. I know this. And I really can't remember what it is called. I really should look it up because it really does help me. But you see that tapping thing that I do with these points, the top of my head, my temples, my third eye, my right here by the corner of my nose, my chin, my chest, and right here. When I repeat affirmations while doing that, it's like that like reprograms my mind while calming my nervous system. And I feel like when you say affirmations when your nervous system is calm, it allows them to penetrate within you better. That's just my opinion. But yeah, just know that, take pressure off of yourself. You don't have to be perfect. Perfectionism really, really, really is the thief of progress. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just show up. Just show up. Just show up in each small step that you can. Show up for yourself. And know that you are exactly where you need to be at the time you need to be there, and you have the ability to get through any challenge that comes your way. And remember to always approach all of these things with self-compassion and self-love, because beating up yourself gets you nowhere. And guys, that's it for me for this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I really rant a lot, but this is just what has been on my mind, and I really wanted this to be the first thing you hear from me to start off 2025, because Kina is back, baby, and we really talking about self-ish, and we really are truly gonna look within ourselves to truly show up as the people that we know we are and have a great freaking experience here on earth as humans, because why else are we here? So I just want to encourage you to always do selfish, love yourself, be yourself, and show up as yourself. Have a good day. Bye. This shit makes you expire.